Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Amazed by the Quran, a series in which I share with you what I find amazing about the Quran. Today is a tough lesson. I've got my head wrapped around it on how to explain this to you to make sense of it all, so bear with me. The first thing I'll remind you of is, once again, the difference between a noun and a verb. Nouns, permanent; verbs, temporary. The second is actually a concept in Arabic speech, an ancient concept that you don't really find a parallel for in the English language, certainly not modern English. So the Arabs, when they talk about a certain act, like I ate, or I slept, or I hit, or something, I drove, if they really want to emphasize it, they'll actually repeat the same act as a noun again at the end. They call it maf'ul mutlaq, which is not important, but it'll sound something like this in English. It'll be like, I bit a bite. Right? Or I bit it a bite. Now, what in the world does that mean to them? It actually means I totally bit that thing, man. I chowed it down. I slept asleep. Nimtu nauman. You could just say I slept. That means I slept. But they'll say I slept asleep to say, man, I was like tranquilized or something. I was out. So they'll add the act as a noun against asleep. To them is a noun, nimtu nauman. So they use this to emphasize the act that they've done. They'll repeat it. So they'll say, darabtuhu darban, I hit him a hit, which basically means I pounded him, I destroyed the guy. That's what that means, okay? So that's one concept that I want you to be familiar with, the idea of repeating the act as a noun to emphasize the act. That is part of the style of Arabic language. It's certainly found in the Quran, the concept of maf'ul mutlaq. But before I give you the examples from the Quran, I need to give you two concepts. So the one concept was this idea of the emphasizer. The second concept is actually found in all languages, the difference between transitive verbs and intransitive verbs. Now, those are big words, so let me explain what that means. When I say I sat, the verb is I sat. Who does that affect? It affects myself. When I say I seated, it actually doesn't affect me. It affects someone who I seated. If I say I slept, it affects me. If I say I put to sleep, it affects someone else. You understand? So, or for instance, if I were to say I stood, right? That would actually refer to myself. But if I say I made someone stand, okay, or I established or something, then you're talking about something else. So when things affect you, they are intransitive. And when things affect someone else, those acts are transitive, okay? Simple enough. Now the thing is, when you're talking about something intransitive, I slept, then the noun you're going to use to emphasize it should also be intransitive. You can't say, I slept putting to sleep. They'll say, I slept asleep, okay? Or I napped a nap, or I hit a hit. You see what I'm saying? So the verb and the noun need to correspond to each other. So if the first one was affecting someone else, the second one should affect someone else. And if the first one was affecting you, the second one should also affect you. That's logical. Except the Quran breaks this rule on multiple occasions. So I'll give you 3 examples of that today. You have in the Quran the Prophet ﷺ in the middle of the night being asked to pray. Half the night, a third of the night. And one of the statements that's made, why should he pray in the middle of the night? Everything's still, there are no distractions. Allah says, وَتَبَتَّلْ إِلَيْهِ تَبْتِيلًا. Batal in Arabic means to cut off. So tabattal actually means to cut yourself off. Now when you cut yourself off, is that transitive or intransitive? That's intransitive because it affects you. I'm cut off. Cut yourself off from all your worries. Cut yourself off from all the things that happened today. Cut yourself off from all the mean things the Quraysh said. Cut yourself off from all your anxieties and fears that you're not going to be able to do your job. Cut yourself off completely, focused to Allah. So the idea of tabattul, and when you use ila with it, means on the one hand, cut yourself off from all distractions and all other thoughts and all other concerns, and now connect yourself entirely to Allah. Tabattal ilayhi. Okay. But Allah didn't just want to say focus towards Him. Cut yourself off and focus towards Him. He wanted to say completely and totally cut yourself off and focus towards Him. Now, because cutting yourself off is intransitive, the language expected was tabattal ilayhi tabattula. The same word, furthered as a noun, cut yourself off, focus towards Him, a focus. Right? That's what the examples I gave you. Except the word is not tabattula, it's tabattal ilayhi tabtila. Different word altogether, different family. This word is actually transitive, means to make someone focus. It doesn't mean to focus, it means to make someone focus. Also means to have perfect focus. There's two meanings. So you know what Allah has done? Focus towards Him, making someone focus. Instead of focus towards Him, a focus. That's incredible. Because now the Prophet is being told, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that you need to focus towards Allah in your exclusivity in a way that will inspire countless others and you will make them focus. You're not just, because the act of Qiyamul Layl is for yourself. Like standing in the middle of the night and praying is totally just for yourself, nobody else, not for the Prophet. His exclusive focus to Allah in the middle of the night will set a precedent for millions upon millions upon millions to come. Focus towards Allah in a way that will make others focus towards Him. So it actually captured the perfection of His focus, it captured the emphasis on focus, but it also captured the fact that He has to leave a legacy. SubhanAllah. Now let's take this two more examples. I know this one's long, but since we've established, I took so much brain juice of yours to establish these 2 points now, I need to get as many examples in along these lines as possible, okay? So two more.